Antarctica, the most remote, coldest, and most mysterious continent on our planet, a place where time seems to have frozen along with the multi-kilometer layers of ice that preserve the secrets of the past. What lies beneath this pristine white cover stretching to the horizon? Scientists have been trying to unravel the mysteries of this harsh land for decades, but with each new discovery, more questions arise. Have you ever heard of the strange, inexplicable sounds emanating from the icy depths? Low-frequency rumbles, reminiscent of the breath of something ancient and powerful, are recorded by scientific stations, but their origin remains a mystery. And what about the subglacial lakes isolated for millions of years? Lake Vostok, discovered by Russian scientists, may contain life forms that have evolved along a completely different path than anything known to science. Geological anomalies found beneath the ice sheet challenge our understanding of the formation of continents. Some researchers claim that peculiar atmospheric phenomena over Antarctica blur the line between reality and illusion, creating mirages that can deceive even the most precise instruments. What then is this mysterious continent hiding from us? Exactly these sounds, these mysterious signals from the depths, have become one of the most intriguing mysteries associated with Antarctica and the waters surrounding it. In 1997, hydroacoustic sensors of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration of the United States recorded something unusual, a super-strong, low-frequency sound, later known as bloop. This enigmatic signal, reminiscent of a giant bubble rising from the abyss, was so powerful that it was detected by sensors located more than 5,000 kilometers apart. What could have produced such a loud sound in the cold waters of the Southern Ocean? Initially, scientists hypothesized that the source could be an unknown marine creature of colossal size, a being that surpasses even the largest known blue whales. Other researchers linked the bloop to the movement of glaciers or underwater volcanic activity. However, after years of research, the most likely cause was identified as cryoseismic activity, the sound of massive icebergs calving from glaciers. But is this really the case? Why are such sounds not registered regularly if their source is a natural process of ice melting? And why does the spectral analysis of the bloop differ so much from other known natural sounds? Even more mysterious are the so-called whispering stars, strange acoustic phenomena that polar researchers describe as a melodic whisper, seemingly coming from nowhere on particularly quiet Antarctic nights. Scientific equipment records these sounds at the edge of the audible range, but their source remains undetermined. Local legends of research stations speak of these sounds as the voices of those who are forever trapped in the icy grip of the continent. But there is another, more ominous category of sounds, low-frequency rumbles coming as if from the very depths of the continent. These can we end, or perhaps, and yet it is as if the Lake Vostok, imagine this is science, but thus, studying Lake Vostok could provide us with a key to understanding the possibility of extraterrestrial life in our solar system. Russian scientists who drilled a hole to Lake Vostok in 2012 encountered incredible technical difficulties and ethical dilemmas. How to study a pristine ecosystem without contaminating it with modern microorganisms. The first analyses of water samples showed the presence of DNA that does not correspond to any known microorganisms. Is this an error in the research or the first evidence of unique life that has been developing in isolation for millions of years? Even more mysterious is the fact that Lake Vostok is just one of nearly 400 subglacial lakes discovered in Antarctica. They form a complex hydrological system connected by subglacial rivers and channels, like the circulatory system of a giant organism. Some of these lakes periodically breathe. Their levels rise and fall in accordance with cycles whose nature remains a mystery. Local researchers report strange vibrations and sounds that can be heard if you press your ear to certain parts of the ice above these lakes, like the sound of distant waves or even rhythmic pulsations, reminiscent of a heartbeat. The scientific explanation for this phenomenon is the movement of water in the subglacial channels. But why do these sounds have such a strange regularity? Of particular interest are the mineral deposits around the places where subglacial waters sometimes break through to the surface. Analysis of these deposits shows an unusual chemical composition with high concentrations of rare earth elements and compounds that are usually not found in nature in such quantities. Some researchers attribute this to unique geological processes occurring beneath the ice sheet, while others propose more daring hypotheses about the biological origin of these anomalies, possibly the result of the life activities of unknown microorganisms. Yet the main question remains unanswered. What else does the icy shield of Antarctica hide from us, this natural keeper of the secrets of ancient Earth? Each new step in the study of subglacial lakes brings us closer to the solution, but at the same time poses new questions, as if nature itself were testing our readiness to accept knowledge that could forever change our understanding of life on our planet and beyond it. But this is just one of many mysteries that the sixth continent holds. If the subglacial lakes of Antarctica make us ponder the hidden life in the depths of the continent, then its surface often displays no less mysterious phenomena, as if challenging our understanding of natural processes. Tabular icebergs are one of the most awe-inspiring sights that the icy continent can offer. Imagine colossal ice platforms with perfectly smooth edges, rising above the ocean's surface like giant monoliths created by intelligent beings. Some of these natural formations are so geometrically perfect that they appear to be artificial constructs. Perfect right angles, parallel sides, and perfectly horizontal surfaces stretching for kilometers. Particularly famous is iceberg A38, which broke off from the Larsen Shelf ice in 2017. It is practically an ideal rectangle, measuring approximately 160 by 40 kilometers, with almost perfect right angles and remarkably smooth edges. How can such geometric precision arise naturally? Official science explains this phenomenon through the structure of shelf ice from which tabular icebergs are formed. Years of pressure, slow movement of ice, and the specifics of the calving process create these extraordinary forms. But even experienced glaciologists admit that the perfection of some specimens leaves them in awe. There is a hypothesis that the internal crystalline structure of ice, formed under the influence of colossal pressure over thousands of years, creates lines of tension that manifest as perfectly straight fractures when the ice breaks off. But why do not all icebergs have such a perfect form? What determines whether a calved fragment of ice will be geometrically correct or will have more chaotic outlines? Even more mysterious are the so-called ice circles of Antarctica, almost perfect circular formations in the ice, with diameters ranging from several hundred meters to several kilometers, discovered on satellite images in various parts of the continent. Some of them have a concentric structure, resembling giant fingerprints on a snow-white surface. The official explanation links them to subglacial lakes whose heat creates these strange patterns, or to local wind vortices. But why are these formations so symmetrical? Some researchers note that in certain regions of Antarctica, one can observe entire complexes of geometric structures, lines intersecting at certain angles, concentric circles, and even forms resembling architectural elements. Of course, most scientists explain this as a play of shadows, peculiarities of relief, and our human tendency to see patterns where there are none. But local researchers who have worked on stations for years tell of a strange feeling that comes over them when they observe these formations from the air, as if looking at the ruins of an ancient city buried under the ice. Particularly interesting is the story of Russian polar explorer Vladimir K., who in 2005 discovered a series of parallel lines intersecting with another series at a right angle of 90 degrees, forming something like a giant grid measuring approximately 20 by 30 kilometers during aerial photography. A repeat expedition could not find this formation. Possibly it was hidden under new snow, or was a temporary phenomenon related to special atmospheric conditions. But the photographs remain, and they continue to raise questions among those who have seen them. What is even more remarkable, similar geometric anomalies are observed not only in the ice, but also in the coastal waters of Antarctica. Satellite images sometimes capture strange regular patterns on the surface of the ocean around the continent, concentric circles, spirals, and even rectangular structures stretching for tens of kilometers. Oceanographers link these phenomena to underwater currents, interaction of water masses of different temperatures and salinity, and the influence of underwater relief. But why are these patterns so remarkably regular? Why does nature, which usually prefers fractal and chaotic forms, suddenly demonstrate almost mathematical precision in the waters of Antarctica? Perhaps the answer lies in unique hydrological processes characteristic only of polar regions, or in the special properties of Antarctic waters. Or maybe we simply do not yet understand the full complexity of the interaction of the ocean, atmosphere, and cryosphere in this extraordinary region of our planet. Whatever the case, the geometric enigmas of Antarctica continue to attract researchers, offering them new horizons for scientific research and making us ponder how fully we understand the processes that shape the face of our planet. And as the icy continent slowly reveals its secrets, we can only guess what other amazing discoveries await us behind the veil of snowstorms and polar night. If the geometric anomalies of the continent raise questions about the present state of Antarctica, then paleontological discoveries partially lift the veil of mystery over its past, painting a picture of a world so different from the current icy silence that reason refuses to accept this transformation. In 20, an international group of scientists discovered fossilized remains of an ancient forest, approximately 90 million years old, in the Sobral Formation on James Ross Island. Imagine, where now stretches vast ice deserts, once thrived lush coniferous forests teeming with life. Analysis of tree rings and pollen showed that this forest grew just 300 kilometers from the South Pole during the Cretaceous period, when a greenhouse climate prevailed on Earth. The average temperature in this region was around 13 degrees Celsius, almost like today in Northern Europe. How could the Earth undergo such radical changes? And more importantly, could such a transformation occur again, but in the opposite direction? The discovery of dinosaur fossils in Antarctic rocks is even more intriguing. In the region of the Transantarctic Mountains, paleontologists found the remains of a Cryolophosaurus, a cold-blooded lizard, a predatory dinosaur about 6.5 meters long that lived there around 190 million years ago. Imagine this majestic and fearsome creature roaming through green valleys where now lie kilometers of ice. What were these lands like when they were traversed by giant reptiles? What other creatures inhabited ancient Antarctica? And how many of their remains still lie beneath the impenetrable ice shield? But the real sensation was the discovery in 2011 of fossilized remains of primitive mammals in the Hansen Formation on the Antarctic Peninsula. These findings indicate that around 60 million years ago, shortly after the extinction of the dinosaurs, Antarctica was one of the centers of evolutionary radiation of early mammals. Among the fossils were the remains of a Gondwanatherium, a strange creature the size of a beaver with teeth unusual for mammals, resembling those of some reptiles. This animal may have been one of the last representatives of a group of mammals that evolved in isolation in the southern hemisphere. In 2018, a Russian Antarctic expedition in the area of the Progress Station discovered fossilized remains of ancient ferns, cicade trees, and ginkgos dating back to around 250 million years ago. Analysis of annual rings and leaf structure showed that these plants adapted to the conditions of polar night, which lasted several months despite a much warmer climate. How could these plants survive in conditions of prolonged absence of sunlight? What unique adaptations did they develop? And can we use these knowledge for modern agricultural technologies? The finds in the sediments of Lake Vostok, an ice-covered lake isolated from the outside world for around 15 million years, are particularly interesting. In samples of frozen water from this lake, scientists discovered DNA of organisms that apparently inhabited Antarctica before its glaciation. Among them were genetic material of plants, insects, and even some vertebrates that today do not exist anywhere in the world. Are these organisms completely extinct, or do their descendants still exist in isolated ecosystems under the ice? Imagine, under kilometers of ice, there may be relict ecosystems, the last living witnesses of an era when Antarctica was a green continent. Some scientists propose the existence of hot oases, places where geothermal activity creates local zones with temperatures sufficient for the survival of ancient organisms. These hypothetical sanctuaries could serve as a bridge between the glaciated Antarctica and the present era, preserving species that have long disappeared from the rest of the planet. But if such oases exist, they must be extremely isolated and inaccessible, making their discovery one of the most challenging tasks of modern science. What is even more intriguing, some Antarctic rocks contain microscopic structures resembling fossilized microorganisms, but with biochemical features not characteristic of known forms of life. These findings have sparked speculation about the possibility of the existence in ancient Antarctica of alternative forms of life that evolved along a different evolutionary path. Could the isolation of the continent have contributed to the emergence of unique forms of life? And if so, what became of them after the onset of glaciation? Did they disappear without a trace? Or did some of them adapt to extreme conditions and continue to exist in places inaccessible to us? In any case, the fossil evidence tells us that Antarctica hides in its icy depths the history of a lost world, a lush green continent teeming with life that thrived in conditions vastly different from the present. This transformation reminds us of the impermanence of our world and the fact that even the most fundamental characteristics of the planet can change over time. And as scientists continue to extract fragments of this lost reality from under the ice, we can only guess what other secrets the white continent hides from us and what revelations await us in its frozen depths. But not only ancient geological and biological mysteries does the ice continent hide. Among its snowy expanses, one encounters phenomena so unusual and visually striking that they seem to have been torn from fantastic tales or dark legends. One of the most mysterious and ominous natural phenomena of Antarctica is the famous blood falls, located in the dry valleys of McMurdo in the eastern part of the continent. Imagine a surreal scene. Amidst the lifeless gray rocks and pristine white glaciers, a stream of vivid red-brown color suddenly appears, slowly flowing down the slope as if blood from a wound in the very body of the earth. This eerie crimson flow, contrasting with the monochromatic landscape around, creates the impression that nature itself has committed some terrible crime, leaving a bloody trace on the white blanket of the continent. The first researchers who discovered this phenomenon in 1911 were struck and dismayed. In their minds, associations with the biblical plagues of Egypt and apocalyptic prophecies inevitably arose. How could pure water acquire such a sinister hue in the land of eternal ice? What secret lies behind this crimson flow, slowly seeping from the depths of Taylor Glacier? Modern science offers an explanation, which, although devoid of mystical charm, is no less astonishing. Beneath the glacier lies an ancient subglacial lake, isolated from the outside world for around 2 million years. During this unimaginably long time, the water in the lake has become 3 to 4 times saltier than seawater and has been enriched with iron leached from the surrounding rocks. In this closed world, devoid of sunlight and oxygen, a unique ecosystem of microorganisms has evolved, capable of surviving in extreme conditions. When water from this ancient reservoir finds its way to the surface through cracks in the glacier and comes into contact with atmospheric oxygen, the iron dissolved in it oxidizes, acquiring a characteristic rust-red color. Thus, this ominous, bloody flow is born, slowly flowing down the pristine white slope. But even the scientific explanation does not diminish the enigma of this phenomenon. Imagine, beneath the ice lies an ancient lake, isolated from the rest of the world for a period comparable to the history of humanity. In its dark, salty waters, microorganisms have evolved in complete isolation, adapting to life without oxygen and sunlight. What other secrets may be hidden in this subglacial world? What forms of life could have developed in such extreme conditions? And how many more such isolated ecosystems may exist beneath the ice shield of Antarctica? Researchers have discovered that the microorganisms from bloodfalls possess unique biochemical mechanisms, allowing them to survive in an environment with high salt and iron content and complete absence of oxygen. Some of these microbes are so different from known forms of life that scientists suggest they may represent relict forms preserved from ancient times when the Earth's atmosphere had a completely different composition. These organisms, living fossils, witnesses to epochs long past, continue their existence in a tiny isolated world beneath the Antarctic ice. What is even more astonishing, such microorganisms could provide us with a key to understanding what life on other planets might look like. For example, on Mars or the moons of Jupiter, where conditions are reminiscent of the subglacial lakes of Antarctica. Perhaps by studying these strange forms of life from bloodfalls, we are approaching an understanding of what extraterrestrial life might look like. Local polar researchers and explorers who have long worked in the area of the dry valleys describe a strange sensation that comes over a person when seeing this crimson flow amidst the lifeless rocks and ice. Many describe an inexplicable feeling of unease and even fear, as if this bloody trace on the white cover of the continent were a warning or omen. On quiet, windless days when sunlight is refracted in a special way by the ice crystals, the red flow seems to pulse, alive, as if an ancient heart were beating beneath the icy crust. It is not surprising that among polar researchers, numerous legends and superstitions have arisen connected with this place. Some claim to have heard strange sounds coming from beneath the ice, a low, barely discernible hum or pulsation. Others speak of unexplained malfunctions in electronic equipment near bloodfalls. Scientists explain these phenomena as natural causes, movement of ice, acoustic effects in the unique environment of the dry valleys, or the influence of extreme temperatures on equipment. But there always remains a place for doubt, for that elusive mystery that envelops this strange place. Blood Falls of Antarctica reminds us of how little we know about our own planet, about the hidden worlds beneath the ice cover existing according to their own laws, beyond human comprehension. And who knows what other riddles the white continent hides, waiting for its hour to reveal itself to the astonished gaze of researchers. The Bloodfall waterfall is just one of many mysterious phenomena hidden among the vast snow deserts of the sixth continent. If we move to the western part of Antarctica, we will discover another enigma that excites researchers and spawns the most extraordinary hypotheses. In the El Suert mountain range, stretching for 400 kilometers across Mary Birdland, there are strange mountain peaks whose geometric regularity challenges our understanding of natural processes. Imagine this. Amidst the chaotic jumble of rocks and ice, suddenly appear mountains whose outlines are so symmetrical and regular that they seem to have been created by an intelligent hand, not blind natural forces. Their clear triangular or quadrilateral shapes with almost perfectly flat slopes resemble man-made pyramids so much that, at first glance at satellite images of this area, one can't help but feel as if one is looking at a creation of an ancient civilization, not the result of geological processes. Among them, one peak stands out, informally known as the Antarctic Pyramid. Its silhouette is so reminiscent of the famous Egyptian structures that even the most skeptical scientists cannot fail to notice this astonishing similarity. The slopes of this mountain form almost perfect faces, converging towards the summit at an angle remarkably close to what we observe in the pyramids of Giza. When sunlight falls on these slopes in a certain way, the illusion of artificiality becomes almost irresistible. Official science offers a perfectly rational explanation for this phenomenon. Geologists assert that such forms are the result of special erosion processes typical of polar regions. When massive glaciers move across the mountain range, they sharpen it like a giant chisel, creating characteristic pyramid-like shapes known as nunataks. This process is enhanced by cycles of freezing and thawing. When water penetrates the rock cracks and, expanding upon freezing, breaks it along natural lines of tension, often forming geometrically regular patterns. Such formations are found in other mountain systems around the world, in the Alps, Himalayas, Andes, wherever powerful glaciers operate. But nowhere do these natural pyramids reach such geometric regularity as in the El Suert range. Why? Perhaps it is due to the unique combination of rock types, glacier movement directions, and special climatic conditions in Antarctica. Or maybe there is some other explanation that escapes our understanding. It is not surprising that these strange mountain formations have become fertile ground for numerous alternative theories. Proponents of non-traditional views on human history point to the striking similarity of these mountains to ancient megalithic structures and propose a daring hypothesis. What if these are not just whimsical natural formations, but when inaccessible to human understanding? On quiet Antarctic nights, when the polar lights color the sky in ghostly hues, the shadows of these mountains take on whimsical shapes like dancing figures from long-forgotten rituals. Local polar guides tell of inexplicable acoustic phenomena, strange sounds coming from the direction of the mountains on particularly quiet days, reminiscent of a distant hum or melodic ringing. Scientists explain this as resonance phenomena arising from the movement of air masses around the sharp peaks, but some eyewitnesses claim that these sounds are too organized, too rhythmic to be just the play of the wind. What lies beneath the thick ice surrounding these mysterious mountains? What secrets could be revealed to us if we could look deep under the ice cover? Modern technologies such as ground-penetrating radars and seismic sounding allow us to partially see through the ice, but the data obtained are often fragmentary and allow for various interpretations. Some researchers claim to have discovered strange anomalies in the structure of the subglacial relief around the pyramid-like mountains, regular geometric forms that are difficult to explain by natural processes. Others insist that these anomalies are artifacts of measurements, the result of technical limitations of the equipment used. As it often happens with Antarctic mysteries, the truth remains somewhere in the middle, hidden under a kilometer-thick layer of ancient ice. And who knows what other amazing discoveries await us in this mysterious land of eternal cold, on the very edge of the inhabited world. But these are not the only mysteries shrouding Antarctica, for within its depths lie magnetic anomalies that can provoke thought and cause unease. These invisible forces, like ghosts of an ancient world, permeate the icy expanses, creating enigmatic and unusual phenomena. Magnetic anomalies discovered in various corners of the continent represent deviations in Earth's magnetic field, caused by geological features in the composition of rocks. However, behind this scientific explanation lie questions that keep researchers awake at night. How could such powerful magnetic fields arise in this remote and uninhabited region where nature itself is a mystery? Proponents of mystical theories suggest that these anomalies may be linked to ancient technologies left behind by long-lost civilizations. Perhaps they used magnetic fields for their rituals or even as a source of energy. It is impossible not to wonder how many secrets these invisible forces may hold, which seem to simply exist in nature. Local polar explorers sometimes report strange sensations they experience in places with strong magnetic anomalies. Some claim to feel a sense of unease or even inexplicable fear when near such places. This sensation undoubtedly adds an atmosphere of mystery, making people believe that these magnetic fields may be connected to something deeper and otherworldly. Scientific experiments confirm that in these anomalous zones, unpredictable changes can occur in the operation of electronic devices and navigation systems. How is this possible? Observers and researchers ask themselves, what if these magnetic anomalies serve as some kind of warning signs or barriers, protecting ancient secrets hidden beneath the ice? The feeling of being on the brink of uncovering something important leads to thoughts that Antarctica may harbor more than just ice and snow. But how does this relate to the ancient civilizations we have already mentioned? Perhaps it is the magnetic anomalies that serve as a link between the past and the present, reminding us that even in our high-tech world, there are things that remain beyond our understanding. What are the true causes of these invisible forces? What can they tell us about what happened before? With each new discovery and each new question we ask, we delve deeper into a world of unsolved mysteries. And perhaps it is in these enigmas that we find the key to understanding what happened on our planet long before we began keeping records. Hidden beneath a thick layer of ice, these magnetic anomalies continue to lure researchers, drawing them into the depths of the unknown, where each step can lead to new discoveries and the unraveling of ancient secrets. Frozen caves, like the true treasures of Antarctica, are hidden from the eyes of ordinary people. But when they are revealed, their beauty can astonish the imagination. Imagine stepping into these mysterious underground worlds where light, penetrating through the ice, creates magical blue hues as if reflecting the celestial vault. These ice arches and vaults, carved by nature over millions of years, appear as if they were created by masters endowed with an extraordinary gift. Each projection, each drop of water frozen in this eternal cold, forms unique shapes, from crystals to majestic columns, embodying the power and beauty of nature. But how did these caves form? Complex processes occurring beneath the earth play a key role in their formation. Initially, as snow begins to melt, water is created, which seeps through cracks in the ice layers. Over time, under the pressure of ice layers, this water freezes, creating enigmatic underground rivers and lakes that, in turn, form magnificent ice structures. But how is this possible in such a harsh climate? Some scientists suggest that beneath the surface lie hot springs that contribute to the formation of these incredible caves. This discovery raises questions about how unpredictable nature can be and what else it may hide beneath its icy shell. Despite all scientific explanations, these frozen caves possess a nearly magical allure, making us ponder how many secrets this world may hold. How can such a cold and unforgiving region as Antarctica be home to such wonders of nature? And what else do we not know about the process that leads to the creation of these masterpieces? With each step through these icy corridors, one feels the breath of antiquity, as if the earth itself whispers its secrets. Local researchers describe their experiences in these frozen caves. Many of them feel a reverent awe, as if entering a sanctuary where time stands still and space is filled with mystical energy. This place where the boundaries between reality and fantasy blur, where every corner may hide details previously unnoticed, which can shed light on the mysteries of the past. But this is not all. Moving from the frozen caves, let us turn our attention to the enigmatic artifacts found in these harsh conditions, which challenge our understanding of history. What can these discoveries tell us about how ancient civilizations interacted with their environment and with each other? Discoveries in Antarctica continue to amaze and raise questions, pushing us to reflect on what else may lie beneath the ice, waiting for the moment when its secrets will be revealed. Miracles and optical illusions that arise in Antarctica represent yet another facet of its mysterious nature. Imagine in the distance on the horizon where the ice cover meets the sky, there appear whimsical shapes as if rising from the depths of the sea. These visual deceptions, known as fata morgana, can distort our perception of reality, making us question what we see. How is this possible in such a harsh climate? The answer lies in the unique atmospheric conditions that prevail on this continent. When warm air meets cold air, light is refracted, creating illusions that can appear as distant lands or even entire cities floating above the icy wasteland. This phenomenon is not only breathtaking, but also mysterious, as it evokes feelings of wonder and bewilderment. How do these mirages affect our perception of Antarctica? Local researchers assert that mirages not only visually distort space, but also open new horizons for our understanding of this land, imbuing it with a mystical aura. These optical illusions, sometimes frozen against the backdrop of icy landscapes, remind us of how easily one can get lost in this mysterious world where reality and illusion are intertwined. Each time scientists encounter such phenomena, questions arise. What hidden meaning lies behind this spectacle? What does it tell us about the nature of light and perception? But the fata morgana is not the only element contributing to the creation of Antarctica's mysterious atmosphere. Moving on from mirages, let us explore how ancient legends and tales of local peoples intertwine with these enigmas. Some of them claim that behind the mirages lie not just optical illusions, but submerged cities left by forgotten civilizations that once inhabited this region. These legends, filled with magic and mystery, make us ponder, what if beneath the ice there is something more than just frozen wastes? Around these mirages and legends, stories circulate about travelers who, lost in snowstorms, saw distant lights and heard mysterious voices. Local residents share tales of how, in a storm, on the horizon appear silhouettes that disappear as quickly as they appear, leaving only the whisper of the wind in one's ears. These stories, imbued with mysticism, underscore the uniqueness of this region, where every phenomenon can be more than just a natural occurrence, but a part of deeper mysteries that we are not yet able to unravel. But perhaps this is the charm of Antarctica, its ability to evoke questions for which there are no ready answers. How powerful is nature, capable of creating such optical illusions, and what does this say about our perception of reality? With each mirage, with each mysterious whisper of the wind, we delve deeper into the abyss of the unknown, where each discovery spawns new questions. Ultimately, all that remains is to speculate how many more secrets lie hidden beneath the thick layers of ice and snow, waiting for the moment when they will be revealed. The dry valleys of McMurdo, located on the eastern coast of Antarctica, are indeed a mysterious place where conditions starkly differ from the familiar icy realm. Imagine a landscape reminiscent of a Martian desert, where ice sheets give way to exposed rocks carved by wind and time. These ice-free valleys seem otherworldly, raising questions about the possibility of life in such extreme conditions. Can nature perform miracles that we are still unable to comprehend? Here, in this harsh environment, temperatures can drop to minus 60 degrees Celsius, and precipitation falls as rare water droplets, creating an illusion of lifelessness. Yet life finds a way to adapt and survive in this extreme climate. Microscopic organisms such as bacteria and algae have managed to establish themselves in these harsh conditions, serving as living proof that life can exist in the most unexpected places. How do these tiny, invisible creatures overcome such challenges? Scientists studying this unique ecosystem have discovered that local organisms have developed remarkable survival mechanisms, enabling them to thrive in conditions where others would perish. But this is not just about survival. It is a mystery that makes us question the limits of life on our planet and beyond. Could such forms of life exist on other planets under similar conditions? The dry valleys also host remarkable geological formations, such as petrified waterfalls and crumbling cliffs, which tell the story of ancient climate changes and the evolution of Earth. How were these formations created? How are they connected to the broader history of our planet? Scientific research shows that these valleys were once part of a vast ice sheet that gradually disappeared over millions of years. But the question remains, what else lies hidden in the depths of these ancient lands? What is their true nature, and what secrets might they reveal to us in the future? As we delve into the study of the dry valleys, we encounter another mystery. How will the climate of Earth change? And what role will these remote corners play in our understanding of global changes? Here, amidst vast expanses and enigmatic forms of life, we can ask questions that transcend our understanding, exploring the boundaries where life and death, existence and extinction intertwine. Each step through these lands reminds us that nature is full of mysteries that we have yet to unravel. How extraordinary that in this seemingly lifeless desert, a whole world of life and mysteries lies hidden. What awaits us around the next bend of these ancient valleys? How many more discoveries await us when we dare to look into the depths of the unknown? But this is not the only mystery that Antarctica hides. If we move from the dry valleys to the icy expanses, we will discover that this continent is also a true treasure trove of meteorites. Meteorites, these mysterious stones from space, fall to Earth, and many of them remain unharmed thanks to the unique conditions of Antarctica. Here, under a thick layer of snow and ice, they are preserved in perfect condition, making this region one of the best places for their search. Imagine these cosmic stones having traveled through millennia and millions of kilometers, lying frozen in silence, waiting for researchers to uncover their secrets. Antarctica is known for its abundance of meteorites. Since the beginning of the 21st century, more than 3,000 samples have been found here. And this is just a fraction of what is hidden under the snow cover. Some of these meteorites are so unusual that they have given rise to entire theories about the origin of life on Earth. How could they have transported molecules that became the building blocks of life to our planet? Meteorites containing organic compounds pose important questions for scientists. Could they have acted as catalysts for the emergence of the first living organisms? Some samples have compositions that indicate their extraterrestrial origin, and that they could have formed in other parts of our solar system, possibly even on other planets or moons. Reflecting on this, one cannot help but wonder, what are the chances that life in some form exists somewhere else in the vast expanses of the cosmos? Remarkably, among the found meteorites, there are those that can be traced back to known parents, such as asteroids that once orbited in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. This leads to contemplation of how our solar system formed and what mechanisms led to its formation. Scientists studying meteorites can unravel some of these mysteries using methods like radiocarbon dating and other modern technologies such as isotopic composition analysis. But even with these advanced tools, many questions remain. What else can these ancient cosmic messengers tell us? What are their connections to processes that occurred on Earth millions of years ago? Perhaps meteorites hold the keys to unraveling not only the history of our planet, but also that of our entire solar system. What were the conditions in which they formed, and how could they have influenced the formation of Earth's atmosphere and climate? These stones that once fell to our Earth continue to hold many secrets, and each discovery is a step toward unraveling the grand cosmic plan. But despite all the achievements of science, the question remains, how many more meteorites are waiting under the snow cover of Antarctica, ready to reveal their secrets? The mystery of life and its origins may lie precisely in these cosmic stones, and each new meteorite could be another link in the long chain of discoveries yet to be made. What secrets lie hidden in the depths of this icy continent? What possibilities await their turn when we dare to look at them again? But this is not the only secret that Antarctica hides. If we focus on the subglacial volcanoes, we will uncover a completely new, mysterious world. Beneath the ice layers that reach several kilometers in thickness, there are not only frozen meteorites, but also active volcanoes, about which humanity is just beginning to suspect. These subglacial volcanoes, of which until recently few people were aware, can cause local areas of warmth, which in turn can affect the dynamics of the ice and even the ecosystems living in the dark waters beneath the ice shield. Imagine how the molten lava flows, breaking through the ice, create unique conditions in which life could exist, about which we have not even suspected. The geothermal activity under the ice cover, seemingly the opposite of the cold and lifeless landscapes we are accustomed to associating with Antarctica, is actually a source of heat necessary for the survival of ecosystems hidden under the ice. Microbial communities that inhabit these underwater hot springs may not only be amazing examples of adaptation, but also keys to understanding how life can exist in extreme conditions. How did it happen that life arises in such an inaccessible place as Antarctica? Scientists studying subglacial volcanoes have discovered that they can be not just geological formations, but also links in ecosystems that we are only beginning to explore. With the help of modern technologies such as underwater drones and seismic research, researchers have found that there are entire networks of volcanoes under the ice shield, some of which may be active even today. But this is not just geological activity. It certainly raises questions about how these volcanoes can influence the Earth's climate and even sea levels. What are the consequences of their eruptions for the surrounding environment? How can an ecosystem change if a volcano begins to release gases or hot water into the ocean? This question becomes even more relevant in the face of global warming and the melting of glaciers. After all, we know that subglacial volcanoes can release carbon dioxide and methane, which can exacerbate the greenhouse effect. But perhaps there is another side to this enigma. Some researchers suggest that volcanoes could become sources of new forms of life that have adapted to extreme conditions. What are the mechanisms of these adaptations? What role do they play in the evolution of life on our planet? These volcanoes, hidden under multi-kilometer layers of ice, may be the key to solving many mysteries related to climate change and the evolution of organisms. And despite all the achievements of science, the question remains open. How many more subglacial volcanoes are hidden under the ice cover of Antarctica? And how can they change our understanding of life and climate on Earth? Perhaps it is here in the depths of this harsh continent that the answers to some of the most mysterious questions about our planet and its future lie. This is not the last mystery that Antarctica hides. If you look up at the sky, you can see strange cloud formations, such as iridescent clouds, which in their rainbow hues seem almost magical. These unusual clouds, also known as iridescent, form high in the stratosphere at low temperatures, when water droplets freeze and create ice crystals. But how do they appear in such a harsh continent as Antarctica? As the sun begins to set, these clouds fill with vibrant shades of pink, purple, and turquoise, creating a spectacle that captivates and amazes. Their rarity only adds to their mystery. Few of us can boast of having seen these clouds in person, and it is precisely this rarity that invests them with an aura of mystique and enigma. What is the nature of the phenomenon that allows these clouds to exist in such a hostile environment? Some meteorologists suggest that this phenomenon is linked to changes in climate and atmospheric conditions, which are becoming increasingly unpredictable. How could simple ice crystals become bearers of the mystery of global changes? What can they tell us about the state of our planet? Moving on to other aspects, it is worth remembering that iridescent clouds are not the only anomalies that can be observed in polar regions. Antarctica also features unusual atmospheric phenomena, such as light pillars and halos, which are created by the refraction of light in ice crystals. These enigmatic light effects, suddenly appearing against the backdrop of vast snow-covered expanses, create an atmosphere in which it seems that nature itself is trying to convey some message. What symbolic meaning can these phenomena have? Perhaps they serve as a reminder that even in the most remote and harsh corners of the Earth, there is room for beauty and mystery. But let us return to the iridescent clouds. Their appearance can serve as an indicator of changes in the atmosphere, and this raises many questions among scientists. What influence does anthropogenic activity have on the formation of these clouds? Does the change in climate play a role in increasing their frequency? The answers to these questions are not as obvious as one might hope. Some researchers suggest that with changes in atmospheric temperature, we may not only observe the disappearance of unique natural phenomena, but also their transformation. These clouds, which were once rare, may become a common sight in the future, opening new horizons for the study of meteorology and ecology. Thus, we are once again faced with the question, how many more secrets are hidden in the skies of Antarctica? What else can these strange but beautiful clouds tell us about our climate and the future of our planet? Looking at this mysterious phenomenon, we can only guess how many more unsolved secrets this snow-covered country holds. Perhaps it is in these celestial patterns that the answers lie, which will help us understand not only the history of the Earth, but also its future. Ancient ice cores and the history of climate. Diving into the mysterious world of Antarctica, one cannot fail to mention the ice cores, which serve as a true book of history for our planet. These multi-meter tall columns of ice, extracted from the depths of glaciers, contain not only frozen water molecules, but also genuine chronicles of climatic changes that have occurred on Earth over hundreds of thousands of years. Each layer, like a page in an ancient manuscript, holds information about the atmosphere, temperature, and even the dust that once floated in the air. Scientists studying these ice samples have discovered abrupt changes in the composition of the air, indicating catastrophic events such as global warming or sudden cooling. How could such changes have occurred, and what do they mean for the present? Some researchers conclude that in the past there were ecosystems vastly different from today's, and these unique conditions could have led to the extinction of entire species. For example, in one of the ice cores, traces of methane were found, a powerful greenhouse gas. But how could it have appeared in such quantities in prehistoric times? What cataclysm could have caused its release into the atmosphere? These ice witnesses not only tell us about climatic changes, but also hint that our planet may experience cycles of which we are not yet aware. Hidden within these ice cores are unsolved mysteries that could shed light on how life on Earth has responded to climatic fluctuations. Some geologists argue that such changes could have been caused not only by natural processes, but also by the influence of ancient civilizations that could have left their marks in the atmosphere. What is the impact of humans on climatic changes, starting from the earliest times? Questions about lost ecosystems and their connection to modern conditions are becoming increasingly relevant. But ice cores are not the only ones that can tell us about the past. In Antarctica, there are also traces of ancient seas and lakes that were once teeming with life, but are now buried under a multi-meter layer of ice. What did the flora and fauna of these vanished ecosystems look like? What happened to the world when the climate changed beyond recognition? Perhaps these ice capsules of time contain not only climatic data, but also clues on how to adapt to the changes we are observing today. With each new study, scientists uncover more details about how our planet has changed over centuries. Yet despite all the scientific achievements, we still stand at the threshold of a great mystery. What else do the ice cores of Antarctica hide? What answers can they provide regarding our future and the future of our planet? Gazing into this cold but captivating world, we can only speculate about how many more secrets this magnificent continent holds, and how important it is to unravel them to understand the legacy we will leave for future generations. But this is not the only mystery that Antarctica holds. Diving into a world where ice and snow seem eternal, we encounter remarkable adaptations of wild nature that astound with their elegance and resilience. How did seals and penguins manage to survive in this harsh climate, where temperatures can drop to minus 40 degrees Celsius? In this vast white kingdom where nature appears merciless, a true miracle unfolds. For instance, seals, these marine mammals with a thick layer of fat and waterproof fur, can spend long hours in icy water without discomfort. How do they cope with such extreme conditions? Perhaps it is due to their unique ability to regulate body temperature, allowing them to remain active even in the cold. Penguins, on the other hand, exhibit extraordinary examples of collective behavior. When temperatures drop, they gather in tight groups, creating their own microclimates. These small creatures, covered in thick feathers, can endure the harshest winters by using the heat of their neighbors. How do they manage to retain heat in such a frozen environment? Perhaps the secret lies in their ability to change positions within the group, allowing each one to warm up a bit. These wild creatures, despite their apparent fragility, embody resilience and strength, demonstrating how life can adapt even in the most unfavorable conditions. But the discussion goes beyond mere survival. These adaptations raise more questions than they answer. What were the conditions when previous generations of seals and penguins first began to inhabit these lands? What climate changes drove their evolution? Scientists study the DNA of these animals and observe their behavior, trying to unravel the mysteries of their origins and adaptations. Yet despite all efforts, many aspects remain unclear. What is the true impact of climate change on these species? And how will they adapt to future conditions as the world changes at an astonishing pace? Comparing the adaptations of these animals with the changes occurring in our own world, we begin to realize that some of these mechanisms could be useful for humans as well. What lessons can we learn from their survival in conditions where life seems impossible? Perhaps these examples hold the keys to our own survival in the face of global warming and ecological catastrophes. However, the mysteries of Antarctica do not end with the wild nature. Moving from seals and penguins, let us turn our attention to the enigmatic artifacts discovered in this frozen wasteland. Are they evidence of ancient civilizations that once inhabited these lands? Or are they simply the products of researchers' imagination? What are their true secrets? We can only speculate about how many more unknown mysteries and extraordinary discoveries await us beyond our understanding. Antarctica, covered in eternal ice and snow, is indeed a place where scientific discoveries intertwine with mystical wonders, creating a unique atmosphere of mystery and wonder. Despite science providing numerous explanations for observed phenomena, it is undeniable that the extreme nature of this continent and its peculiarities continue to evoke awe and a sense of the inexplicable. What is the true nature of the enigmatic artifacts found beneath the ice? What secrets could ancient civilizations, which may have once inhabited these icy expanses, reveal to us? With each new discovery, we delve deeper into a world where reality and myths intertwine, allowing us only to speculate about the countless mysteries hidden beneath the cloak of Antarctica. Although scientists explore these wonders, attempting to unravel their enigmas, the question remains, what is the true impact of this harsh climate on the life that exists here? And perhaps it is in this contrast between scientific truth and mystical perception that we find the source of our reverence for nature. We invite you to share your thoughts on which of the presented wonders seem most captivating to you and which mysteries, in your opinion, await discovery. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to continue exploring the mysterious places of our planet with us, for each new journey opens doors to worlds filled with wonders and the unknown. So stay with us, and together we will strive to understand the most extreme environments that still keep their secrets. What secrets remain to be discovered, and what wonders await us beyond the horizon?